Now, one of the things that NEO has been doing is, of course, boosting the number of their sales team, or increasing the number of sales team, trying to, of course, trying to get as many sales as possible. I mean, there was a report which we read a couple of weeks ago that indicated that even the NEO CEO himself recently has been focusing more in trying to get NEO to produce sales, which, of course, looking at the numbers, yeah, it has not showed to be fruitful as many people expected that it would right now. But nonetheless, the good thing is that now, as I said in yesterday's video, is that now we are in Q4, and sales, ladies and gents, based on what we saw in the previous years, is that sales, not just on the EV industry but in the car industry as a whole, tend to increase or get boosted right now in Q4, meaning that the amount of deliveries that NEO reported or delivered for Q3, chances are very high that we are going to see Q4 delivering even much better numbers than the 55 or over 55,000 that we saw NEO producing, of course, in Q3. Now, today, ladies and gents, one of the good things that we read about NEO, which might also again boost their deliveries, is, of course, going to the dealers, or NEO thinking about approaching dealerships in Europe, trying to, of course, sell their cars into some of their dealerships. And this is something that, of course, we saw NEO, or we read about NEO doing it, of course, also in China. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, again, we read an article that was, of course, indicating that NEO is considering or has approached one of the big dealerships in China, where they will also be selling their cars there, even their sub brands, which is something that, of course, it is a pretty good thing, because NEO, not only will they be selling their cars in their, of course, NEO houses or NEO showrooms, but they will also be selling their cars in, of course, other dealerships around China. So same strategy, they are moving it also into Europe, because one of the things that, of course, we read on today's report is that the vice president is not happy about the kind of sales they're generating in Europe, and therefore it is for this reason, according to this report, they are, of course, thinking about going the route of starting to sell, or thinking about selling some of their cars in some of the dealerships or some of the car companies in Europe, which is something that I think it's quite strategic, because those that want to buy cars, not only they will have an option to go into a NEO house to know about NEO, but they will, chances are very high that they will also come to know about NEO from other dealerships, which I think it is a good strategy coming out from NEO. But of course, before we dig deeper into this video, you already know that this video is just an entertainment video and not a professional financial advice video. I would really appreciate if you can just hit the like button if you are to enjoy the content that I'm giving you about NEO coming out with the strategy, or this report indicating that NEO is also thinking about going into a strategic partnership with, of course, some of the European dealerships to try to sell their cars into those dealers, meaning that NEO won't only be selling their cars into the NEO houses, NEO spaces, but they'll also, or you will find NEO cars being sold in, of course, some of the dealerships in Europe, which I think it is a good approach, because, like I said, over and above the NEO spaces, NEO houses, when you will be selling their cars, they'll also be selling their cars into other, of course, dealerships, which is something that I think it's quite strategic. So hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, or if you're enjoying this video, and subscribe, because on this channel, NEO is one of the stocks that I talk a lot about, because I believe in their fundamentals and their future prospects. And I think that though we are seeing sort of like a low volume in terms of sales, this is a company that will do very well, and especially that now we are in Q4, and Q4 tends to produce good deliveries, as we've been seeing in previous years. And with NEO, you will know that 2024 is one of the years where I think delivery wise we are set to see good sales in 2024, especially in the second half, after NEO introduces, of course, or starts with the deliveries of their sub brand, namely Alps. So I'm very excited about not only now in Q4 about the sales that we might get, or the boost in deliveries that we might get now in Q4, but I'm also excited about the future when I look into next year, especially knowing that NEO will be introducing their sub brand. I mean, the kind of sales that sub brand will will generate, because that is a model that will be, of course, aiming for the mass market, which is the middle or lower to middle class, which personally I think that they will do pretty good, or they will do very well also in that market, because NIO, though it is going to that market, they'll be selling premium cars, or meaning that the kind of technology or the kind of quality that you'll still be getting from the sub brand will still be of quality, which is something that is good. And to know that the kind of benefits or the kind of services you could still get with the sub brands, like enjoying battery swapping station, it is one of the things that will make NIO to really dominate, even of course that segment, or that market segment that is right now seeing companies like Xpeng benefiting from that kind of segment. As Xpeng, it's that company that is selling sort of like cheap EVs that is quite affordable to quite large population, or quite large number of people in China. So I'm very excited, and to know that NIO might also be selling these kind of cars in Europe makes me to be really excited, because over and above the NIO cars that NIO will be selling, that comes with, or that all of their models in NIO have dual motors. Now consumers will have an option to choose whether they are buying a NIO car that comes with the dual motor, or they can buy a sub brand, namely Alps, that will be coming with also single motors, which will make that car to be much cheaper. So I'm very excited about this, and I think also the fact that today we got to read the strategic report of NIO also looking into selling their cars into some of their dealership outside of NIO makes me to be really excited, because it will attract, or the kind of attraction that they will get from that, it will be more over and above the attraction that they will get into their NIO houses, NIO spaces. So this is good news, and it is a good initiative, and I think if you are to look at it in the longer term, I think it will benefit NIO, though of course it might compromise the profits or margins that they would normally get if they are probably selling their cars into the NIO spaces, NIO houses. But I think it will give NIO at least some good sales, because over and above the sales that they'll be generating from their spaces, they will also be generating revenues from those other dealerships or external dealerships, which is always a good thing. Otherwise, with all that, guys, I make tons and tons of stock market investing videos, and if you think that this video was amazing, please don't forget to hit the like button, comment and subscribe. And once you subscribe, don't forget to hit or click that notification bell, so that at least to get notified by YouTube every time I drop a new content. Otherwise, that's all from me, and I wish you nothing but the best in your stock market investing journey. And before you buy NIO for the very first time, it is always good that you do your own due diligence, so that at least you can be comfortable as you are investing into the stock market. NIO is one of the stocks that is quite volatile, and if you don't do your own due diligence, you might end up panic selling and thinking that this company is going nowhere. But I must tell you right now, though this is not professional financial advice, that blue sky will come. I think these days will pass, and NIO, it is still set, or we might see it becoming profitable, or it is still, in my personal opinion, going to be profitable somewhere in Q4 or somewhere in 2024, and that is something that I think we are going to see, and it will be boosted also by their sub brand. Otherwise, that's all from me, and God bless you all.